News headlines with Ross Unwin.
The family of a 16-year-old boy stabbed...
6:20 here on LBC. We're talking about the same-sex couple in New Zealand who searched for their dream sperm donor on Facebook. I really haven't made that up. I mean, it is actually a true story. They want the father of their child to be a cool dude who's taller than them. They would prefer it if their donor was not white because they would just love a mixed bub. There you go. 0345 6060 973. Should people be able to choose the characteristics of their bub? Is it morally wrong for a couple to want to make the perfect baby? And have you had to look for a donor yourself? And what were your priorities in that process? What did you look for? Is it all about looks? How did you choose? What's the process? Are we as a society trying to iron humanity's imperfections? Does this make you uncomfortable? Because it makes me very uncomfortable. 0345 6060 973. There was a story, wasn't there, a year or two ago, about this couple who went through this similar process, and they were absolutely adamant they did not want a baby with a particular colour eyes, or they didn't want a ginger-haired baby, or whatever. I think this is outrageous. It's interfering with nature, isn't it? But then a lot of the things we do interfere with nature, so maybe this is no different than, I don't know, sort of creating cures for different illnesses. I mean, that's in a way interfering with nature, isn't it? Let's go to Lucas in Hammersmith. Lucas, what would you like to say?
Hi, yeah. Basically, I would like to talk about, I was artificially inseminated in 1979 in Harley Street by Bridget Mason, who at the time was one of the first people who was actually doing the first idea of designer babies. So I'm probably one of the first designer babies, if you will, but the natural way. By sight, they actually chose a doctor, and they chose a person that my mum asked for, blonde hair, tall, and they actually done it. But I left home at 12 years old when I found out, and it's ruined my head ever since.
Really?
I've been chasing a father I've never met. I've got two different personalities where one is like my mother's side, which they all think that I'm part of them, not to worry about who my father is. But then I've got different sides to me where I want to know who my father is. So I've been struggling with that since I was 12 years old.
I don't know whether you can really answer this question, but how different would that have been if you had discovered you were adopted? Because, there's a similarity, isn't there?
There is, but I think psychologically it comes with a different thing. You accept it when you're told you're adopted, then that's the end of it. For me, it's like I'm chasing a ghost, because he could be alive, he might not be alive. We're not allowed to find out any records. Bridget Mason and all the archives, we've been down there, but also there's a certain society that no one knows about, which is UK Donor Link. And there's about 40, 50 members there, and they're all made by Bridget Mason, and they're all looking through their father and stuff like that. So there's meetings that go on every month with UK donor children, and they're all upset, they're all worried, they're all turning up to the meetings and stuff like that. So why is it so important? Because I can only look at this from people I know who have been adopted, and I accept that there is a difference. But there are some people I know who, in fact, a relation of mine who was adopted, who has absolutely no interest in finding out who his birth mother or father were, because he felt that he had the best parents that he could ever have, and he just had no interest in it. Yeah, I've thought about that, but personalities are different. With me, I really want to find out who my father is, because of the type of person I am. When I was at school, I was a gold medal champion at pretty much everything: football, cricket, basketball. I could beat everyone at everything, and I'm thinking, well, does that come from my father? And then I think, well, I know some people in my family are quite sporty, but does it come from that side, or am I really this good because of whoever my father is, whoever they chose it to be at the time? But my mum did sit down and said, I want my son to look like this, I want him to be tall, he has to be like this, da-da-da-da-da. So in them days, it was completely different. Now they can choose every part of the DNA. But my doctor, Bridget Mason, actually went and chose someone that my mum was asking for. So it's the first type of designer baby you could get, really.
And since you left home at the age of 12, have you rebuilt relations?
Well, no, I still speak to my family and stuff. I've been lost ever since. I've been running around. I got in trouble when I was young. I ended up in Feltham and prisons and stuff like that. Not that I was bad, but just because I was lost and I was chasing a ghost. So there's so much psychological things that come with it. But I do believe you can't put certain genes together. Like my family, maybe the person they chose, the doctor of my father, whoever he is, the gene they chose might not actually match with my type of family. Yeah. So there's always been a struggle where my mum doesn't understand the other side of me.
It's really interesting, Lucas, because I completely get where you're coming from, even though, I mean, I can only imagine being in your situation, but I think I would want to know who I was, where I came from, and I think it's a natural thing for people to want to know, isn't it?
Sure, but my sisters are made like that as well, but they don't care. But I think it's a female thing. My mum, they attach to my mum, and even though obviously we all love our mother, they're women, so they can easily get along with that, and they're not worried about it at all. My sisters do not care and never want to find out, but me, I want to find out more than anything in the world.
And what does your mother think of what you're doing?
She's never been impressed with it. She doesn't like it, but she seems to think that I'm part of her family and that's it, that's the end of it. But all the trouble that's gone on between me and the family and all the differences between that they don't understand, always felt like I'm not understood, comes from because I'm chasing the ghost. So there's always been that struggle, but I'm very different in one way to my family, but also very the same.
Getting lots of texts and tweets about what we're saying. Lucas, somebody says, wow, this caller Lucas is incredible. I really feel for him. I think a lot of people will have been touched by what you've just said. Thank you very much indeed for phoning in. Let's go to Nick in Guildford. Nick, what would you like to say?
I just want to reiterate your previous call and your text that you sound amazing. You know, I've got the utmost respect for him and sympathy, and I hope things get better for him. But in regards to